football tips for midfielders in this video and 5 ways that you can start running the game from the middle of the park. What's up guys, it's Dave here from Simplysoccer, where we're helping you to improve your game and stand out on the pitch. And on this channel, we release weekly soccer tip, training, and technique videos, all designed to help you do just that. So if you haven't already, please consider subscribing and hitting that bell icon so you don't miss any new videos that we release. Now in today's video, I just want to give some tips to you midfielders so you can start having more of an impact in that position. We're going to go over a few things that you can do, some ideas, and some things that you should also be avoiding. Let's get right into number 1, which is to have better awareness. Now this may seem very simple, but especially when you're playing in the middle of the park, you always need to be aware of what's around you at all times. It can be one of the most congested areas, which makes it one of the easiest areas to lose the ball in. So you always have to be aware of where your teammates are and where your opponents are, and you need to keep refreshing the image in your mind every few seconds because things change up so much in the middle of the park. So make sure that you're getting your head up even when you don't have the ball and you're scanning the field, because it's going to, again, like I said, change every few moments. So even if you don't think you're going to receive the ball, still make sure you're checking just in case so that you can move into space if you see it, so that if you do receive the ball, you know where your teammates are, and you also know where all your opponents are, so one of them can't surprise you and strip you of the ball. Number 2 is to keep it simple. Now there are going to be moments in the game when you're going to have the license to go out and do a little bit more, but for the most part, if you're playing in a congested area, you want to keep it simple, you want to retain possession, and you want to keep it to 1 or 2 touches and then a pass. Again, this is going to be most of the time. There are going to be other times where you find yourself in more space or where you want to take more touches in order to dribble someone or make something happen, but for the majority of the game, you'll find that it's much better to play 1 and 2 touches or very few touches when you're in the middle of the park. Number 3 is be disciplined, and mainly what I mean by that is to be disciplined positionally. You know, the center mid position is one of the hardest positions on the pitch in my eyes because you have a lot to do not only in the offense but in the defensive side of the game as well. Another thing is to be very clear on what your role in the team is. If your coach has you doing something specific in the attack and defense, make sure you're sticking to those things, because the last thing you want to happen is for the ball to be turned over and you not be in the position you need to be in, and then your opponent's exploiting that space that you should be occupying. Again, we're going to go over times where you can actually start to do more things and, you know, not necessarily play 1 or 2 touch, but for the most part, this is a position where you want to be pretty disciplined and stick to the game plan. However, that does take us into our next one, which in a way contradicts that. And the next one is you taking some risk. Now, you definitely want to be a disciplined player. You want to be playing 1 and 2 touch. You want to be aware of everything around you. You want to be making sure you're in the right positions and in the right space from an attacking standpoint and a defensive one, but you don't want to be super rigid. The best midfielders in the world are the ones that also take risks. A risk can be anything from trying that long ball or that through ball to taking a few opponents on one-on-one to shooting the ball. Now, there are plenty of players who make a career out of being very tidy midfielders, 1 and 2 touch combination play, being very tactically astute, but even those players will take risks from time to time. For example, you can look at a player like David Silva, who's a very tidy player who's really good at 1 and 2 touch, but you'll still see him take players on one-on-one every now and then. You'll still see him drive towards the goal. You'll still see him do things that have a considerable amount of risk attached to them. Now, sometimes you will have to be a complete team player and always think about 1 and 2 touch. But when you think of it from a team standpoint, sometimes it's advantageous to take that man on. Sometimes it will help your team to take that risk and take that shot because the reward, if the risk pays off, will be great. So don't be afraid of taking calculated risks throughout the game. I just want to make sure you're not taking a risk every single play. You want to time it and you want to calculate it. For example, the best players in the world, the Iniestas, the David Silvas, the really good midfield players, they don't always take risks, but they still take risks at calculated moments or moments when they think they can do the most damage. So start looking for moments where you can take more risks in your matches from this position. A great way to learn about when to do this and when not to is to watch players like I've mentioned, like Iniesta, like David Silva, like Kevin De Bruyne, who are players that are at a high level and yet still are able to perform risky moves or plays and them paying off when doing it. So take a look at some players like that, and it will show you that taking those risks are absolutely worth it and actually necessary if you want to play this position well. All right, and the last one may sound like a weird one, but it is don't be afraid to stand out. And I've encountered this in many teams I've played for, or in opposition teams where you have a really good player who, again, is afraid of taking risks and doesn't really want to stand out that much, afraid of being in the spotlight and making things happen. And this usually comes down to a confidence issue, but don't allow that to hold you back. It's all good to be a tidy midfield player and a squad player who makes the first team and does a reasonable job in there. But you should be always striving to do more and more and have more of an impact. So don't be afraid to be that player who your team looks to in those moments where they need something to happen. Don't be afraid to be that player who pulls the strings and needs to take a little more risk. Don't be afraid to be that player that takes the shots, who takes the players on and does more than is required of a typical center midfield or midfield player. So my last tip is to just not be afraid to stand out on your team or to be that go-to guy. Yes, it does take a confident player to do it, but you can grow into it if you just start trying to make these things happen in matches. All right, guys, so those are just 5 football tips from midfielders that are going to help you stand out a little more in the middle of the park and kind of run things in the center. Now, if there are any tips I forgot to mention or any tips you think should be included in this list or suggestions you have for things that could be included, put them down in the comments so we can all see those and hopefully learn from that as well. I'll be in the comments responding and taking a look at all your comments. Guys, thank you so much for watching this video. Please like and share it if you haven't already, and subscribe if you haven't already to Simplysoccer if you want to see more videos like this. We release usually on a weekly basis, so we always are consistently bringing out content. I will have 2 videos appear on the screen if you want to learn more and keep becoming a better player through learning from these videos. I'll have 2 that I recommend on the screen here. And if you haven't already, make sure you get my free ebook called Game Changer. It's absolutely free for you to have. You can get that by going in the description and clicking on the link. If you don't have it yet, I would definitely recommend that you get it. A lot of great tips and training and other stuff in there that's just going to help you become a better player. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in to this video, and I'll see you in the next one.